I was outside in LA Live while you have folks on ladders pulling down their advertisements because Donald Sterling still owned the Clippers. I was inside the Staples Center where all the advertisers, their logos were covered in black because they wanted nothing to do with the Clippers. That compromises the NBA brand. So if you're on the record, Mark Cuban, and you say, quote, you know, what he said was heinous, unacceptable, and there's no place for it in the NBA, then that explains to you why he has to go and why you should vote. You should be one of the owners to vote him out because you're acknowledging he has no place in the NBA. And that's as simple as that. It's just a smart business thing.
I agree with what you just said. To the point, I think Mark is putting himself on a slippery slope.
Yes, he is.
With his players of his team.
Yeah.
Because they have to start wondering, well, what are you doing? You're defending maybe Donald Sterling, but at least you're defending his right to due process in the NBA, right? He says, I want to hear the facts. Well, most people, starting with yourself, leap to the conclusion, as you should have, I don't need any more facts.
Right.
I heard the tape. Illegally recorded or not, you know how this man spoke, what's in his heart. Then we were able to frame it with what he's done in the past in his business practices, and everybody said, that's enough. But Mark Cuban is saying, no, this man has a right. And Mark Cuban, when we were on the hoodie comment, remember? Yeah. And I kept trying to make the point, even though you were fixated on hoodie, as you should have been, but I kept saying, wait, bigger picture. I think Mark Cuban's trying to plant the seeds of, hey, we all have our prejudices. Let's give this man, Donald Sterling, a little bit of a break here. Not a pass, but a break. And I think he wanted to hear other facts come out in a due process, you know, sort of an NBA trial within the bylaws of the NBA, which we didn't get to have, we think, because because the sale went through.
The sale's going to go through, and they're not going to have to vote tomorrow.
So is not Mark Cuban, and he went to the point of saying, hey, I don't even care if people come to my games. I want due process because now everything's changed. Now we all could be held accountable for something that was privately recorded. And he said in the end, I want to know what people do as opposed to what people say.
A couple of things. I'm not going to dishonor their trust by saying who, but I spoke to a couple of owners. And both owners are having a problem with Mark Cuban feeling the need to open his mouth. Because they're like, you know, what is he thinking? What is he doing? He really needs to chill. That's number one. Spoke to them over the phone. Number two, I like Mark Cuban. I think he's a straight-up honest guy. And I'm one of those guys, if you're honest and straightforward and real about who you are and what you stand for, I'm going to always lean towards giving you the benefit of the doubt because I respect the honesty and the courage it takes to be honest. But at the same time, I'm looking at Mark Cuban, and it's like, you're going a little extra mile now. Because, again, I agree with him when he's talked about the prejudices in all of us, right? But more to what you were trying to point out that day, he seems to be excessively going about the business of trying to defend Donald Sterling.
Sure.
You got people in the NBA that's saying like this, whoa, wait a minute.
Right, what you do?
Not as just what he said, but you got the racial practices, the racial discrimination, the Department of Justice, and then the local chapter of the NAACP and that brother that was bounced out, and rightfully so. And now we're hearing about the briberies and stuff like that in his past. Good riddance to him, by the way. Yes, it is. It's all a matter of record.
I agree.
This dude is a disgrace. Okay, and sure enough, he was clearly willing to be bought off to some degree, all right, because that's what Donald Sterling was doing, donate to the local chapter of the NAACP, and they're giving him lifetime. How do you get 2 lifetime? I'm still trying to figure out how could you get off of 2 lifetime achievement?
1 lifetime?
You got 1 life.
And 1 life.
How you gonna get 2 lifetime achievement awards? He was going to get the second on May 15th before this came out. But I'm simply saying, with all of that, as Mark Cuban continues to talk, all of this evidence continues to come out about Donald Sterling, which makes Mark look worse because Mark is continuing to push and push and push. And to me, it's like, all right, so now, listen, I like Mark Cuban and I respect the hell out of him, but he's getting to a point where there are going to be some people that stand up and go like this, okay, So let's talk about how you truly feel. Because let's start with the vagueness, okay, or the hypotheticals. Where do you stand? Mark certainly doesn't have a problem with that, but it's getting to that point because it's like, my Lord, I mean, this is no longer about just what Donald Sterling said. You won't let it go. Why?
Which is why you wanted a public vote of every owner, right?
Yeah.
Well, that would have been fascinating.
Because he's not the only one who feels that way.
Well, I'm just saying, I can show you this based on my conversations and my phone calls. I can tell you that he may not be the only one who feels that way, but he probably would have been the only one who voted that way. Because other guys appear to be smart enough to go, yo, this is not something we need to touch.
Deal with
This man is gone. We need to move forward. And they're literally looking at Mark Cuban and going like this, what are you doing? Literally, I had two owners say to me, what is he doing? Shut up.
Folks, when the NBA Finals start on Thursday, the best player will face the best team in the league. Do you all agree with that? More importantly, do the fellas agree with that? We will talk about it after the break. Stick around, everyone.